How do gay men and women fare in the Church of Scientology?
It's a long question.
The church will tell you that it embraces all people, that they do not discriminate, that they love gay people, and there are many gay members. It's a complete lie.
Scientology's view of homosexuality is two-faced. On one hand, they present to the world that they are open and tolerant, but within the writings of Scientology, homosexuality is viewed as an aberration. L. Ron Hubbard developed a tone scale, which is an artificial listing of emotions that goes from, death to exhilaration. Homosexuality is pegged as 1.1 on that arbitrary tone scale. .1 is considered to be the most dangerous tone level in society. It is considered to be a very bad state to be in.
There's a scale in Scientology, which L. Ron Hubbard developed, which gives you every emotion or tone that you can be feeling at any given time. And in Scientology, anything to be considered survival or good for you exists on this scale. Any action or emotion or anything exists on this scale from 2.0 up, okay? So any emotion or effort that you're making that is in any one of those emotions is for your survival. It's moving you forward. Anything below that is moving you towards death, towards total failure. And I want to hone in on a very specific tone, which is the 1.1 covert hostility tone. And as you can see on the chart, kind of gives the description of how Scientologists feel about 1.1 people. Now, if you go to another reference here, the Hubbard Chart of Human Evaluation, which also contains the tone scale, and this also breaks down every element of life and your abilities in various areas of life according to your tone. At the 1.1 level on this chart, we find covert hostility, and they are deemed psychotic. Okay. And if you go over to column P, which is the sexual behavior attitude towards children, L. Ron Hubbard states you will have promiscuity, perversion, sadism, irregular practices. So what exactly does L. Ron Hubbard mean by perversion? And if we go to the very first book that started it all, Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health, and in it, L. Ron Hubbard says, the sexual pervert, and by this term in Dianetics to be brief, includes any and all forms of deviation, such as homosexuality, lesbianism, sexual sadism, etc. The sexual pervert is actually quite ill physically. Perversion as an illness has so many manifestations that it must be spread through the entire gamut of classes. Overdevelopment of sexual organs, underdevelopment, seminal inhibition or magnification, etc. are found some in one pervert, some in another. And the sum of it is that the pervert is always a very ill person in one way or another, whether he's conscious of it or not. He is very far from culpable for his condition, but he's also so far from normal and so extremely dangerous to society that the tolerance of perversion is as thoroughly bad for society as punishment for it. I just want to repeat that last part again. He is so far from normal and so extremely dangerous to society that the tolerance of perversion is as thoroughly bad for society as punishment for it. So, in no uncertain terms, if you are gay, you are a pervert, and you are not to be tolerated in society, according to L. Ron Hubbard.
In fact, Hubbard said that society would be better off if all of those people were corralled up and put on an island somewhere away from the rest of society so that they didn't backstab, influence, and otherwise seek to destroy all the good people.
And in Scientology, the goal is to give you Scientology processing to bring you above 2.0 and push you forward to survival. So if you are gay, even though you're getting Scientology processing and you're improving in other areas of your life. You're able to communicate more. You're happier in your life. You're feeling good about your career. If you remain gay, those things become invalidated and you remain at the 1.1 level. You never rise above it. You just stay down here at the 1.1 level because you're still a pervert.
This band of person where homosexuality is charted is called covert hostility. And Scientology says you are the worst kind of person. You are sadistic, you're a backstabber, you want people to secretly fail in life. You are the person who smiles in someone's face and stabs them in the back.
The most dangerous tone level of all is covert hostility.
Well, I signed up for some fashion design classes.
Really?
Here is the person who smiles to your face and then stabs you in the back.
I love you, sweetie, and I know that you have your own personal look.
Their conversation is filled with small barbs.
Designers have to have a lot of talent, and not very many people make it.
Because they're secretly trying to upset you or even destroy you without you being aware of it.
Don't set your heart on it, okay? I don't want to see you get hurt.
I'd have more
But
respect for
extremists.
them if they said, we believe
Yeah.
that people who
Yes.
are gay are aberrated, which means up.
That's what Hubbard says.
And we can fix you through our Scientology auditing.
If they actually said it aloud without at the same time saying, oh, no, we don't really do that. I mean, they both sides of the mouth, they speak constantly.
I've been a Scientologist since 1999, and I've never come across any piece of information that remotely is negative or derogatory in any way towards the LGBT community.
Every Scientologist has read the same books, and they are mandatory books. You can't move up in Scientology if you don't read Dianetics, Science of Survival, and very specific books. So for any celebrity Scientologist to say, we have no stance on homosexuality, is an actual liar.
In no uncertain terms, and there should be no doubt in anyone's mind what L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology thinks of the LGBTQAI community. You are not welcome there. They do not like you. Even if you spend your money there, even if you give them your time and sign that billionaire contract, they may smile at you and they may tell you how much they appreciate you. They don't want you there. And behind your back, they're talking about what a disgusting pervert and inhuman that you are.
This is where we get to the real issue of, is Scientology homophobic or not? Absolutely it is.
The homophobia, if that's even a strong enough word, in Scientology, it's not just a shaming or you can't do Scientology if you're gay kind of thing. They destroy people's lives. They destroy people's sanity and they ruin everything. I knew these things from a very early age, the tone scale and things like that. And knowing that being gay meant that you were chronically at the 1.1 level was terrifying to me as a child and as a young adult. I never wanted to be someone who was secretly seeking to harm everyone that I knew or, plotting their doom or anything. I consider myself to be a loving, caring person. So the internal struggle for the feelings that I was feeling was far beyond the normal, I'm not going to go to heaven or whatever other punishment was going to be there. There's a process in Scientology called false purpose rundown. And basically, in a nutshell, the process is to get rid of any evil thoughts that you have that are controlling your actions in life. And you do this by confessing transgressions of various different natures, whatever they ask you about. And then you go, earlier and earlier and earlier transgressions until you find the very first time you committed that type of transgression. And just before that, according to L. Ron Hubbard, there will be an evil purpose that you formulated at that moment in order to make you carry out this chain of, destruction that you have committed across your lifetime. And when I got assigned to the Rehabilitation Project Force, I was given many hundreds of hours of false purpose rundown, specifically targeting my sexual identity and any acts that I had committed while engaging in any form of sex. And the hyper reality in Scientology isn't just the sex act itself, is not just sex. Okay. Everything that you do that involves another person or yourself, is sex. So that any form of making out, just picture the scale in your mind, goes from holding hands all the way up to whatever you can imagine. Okay. And when you're doing these confessionals, it's not like when you sit down in a Catholic church and you say, "Forgive me, Father, I've sinned. I had thoughts about having sex with someone other than my partner." And then he says, "Okay, do 5 Hail Marys and, don't do it again. You're forgiven, blah, blah, whatever." When you're receiving these confessionals, you have to give illicit details of everything you've done or thought. So think about for a moment, being in love with someone who is the same sex as you, and this is forbidden, and that you're going to, throw away your whole life and your career in Scientology, but you love this person. And now that you've been found out, you are now sent to a concentration camp where you live in a dorm with 35, maybe 50 other people in some cases, on a triple bunk, where you have a junior high size locker to keep all of your possessions in, and you work 10 to 15 hours a day doing extremely hard manual labor. And 5 of those hours can be spent sitting across from someone who wants to now talk to you about every single thing you did with that person that you loved, that you touched, that you kissed, that you caressed. And you have to tell them in graphic detail every single thing that you did. But now, as you're telling it, it's not an act of love. It's not a moment of joy. It's something you did that's a crime. And so you are confessing your love for this person as a crime against humanity. And as you say these things for hundreds of hours, thousands of hours, over and over and over, I want you to imagine how you begin to feel about yourself, how you begin to see yourself as a human. And let me tell you, you begin to see a very disgusting person when you look in the mirror, because you feel some way about someone, and it's a feeling of love. And now that love is turned on its head, and every positive emotion that you ever felt is now a crime. And you begin to question, what is love? How am I supposed to feel about myself? And every time you think you're better and you don't feel those feelings anymore, and they come back, you don't even need a person across from you to ask questions. You're already doing it in your own mind and telling yourself how terrible you are and how awful you are. And they had me pretty much convinced that not only were the feelings that I had when I was in love with someone were evil and demented and perverted, but that I could not get better. I couldn't use Scientology counseling to become a better person. And so I attempted suicide. There are people who were in the same position as me, basically, very much closeted, very much suppressing everything that they felt inside, who didn't make it out because they did take their own lives.
So the answer to the question is yes. There is a lot of psychological damage done to people, men and women who are gay.